Gaming is one of the top forms of entertainment and well-known hobbies for all age groups in this day and age. So much so that you could probably show a random person that's probably never even held a controller a day in their life this screenshot and they'll be able to tell you what game this is. Well, at least what it used to be. I don't know what the hell it is anymore. Right now, gaming is arguably the most sought after market that big investors and, companies are banking on to try and capitalize on the medium's popularity. But what's crazy to think about is that, not even that long ago, it wasn't even like this, at least nowhere near to the extent it is now. I'm sure some of you know or remember just 2 decades ago, the government damn near casted a whole war on video games. There were headlines on how video games were too violent, turning kids into maniac murderers, or allegedly finding a sex game mode in one of the greatest games of all time. Allegedly. The media that wasn't gamers themselves were really quick to put the blame on a lot of the youth's problems on digital pixels. I don't agree with this stance at all, but to their offense, it may not have helped kids that had serious mental issues. Like, if somebody with known anger problems and a history of violence wanted to play Mortal Kombat, well, then that's probably not the best idea. They might fuck around and learn some new real life combos. But rant aside, and long story short, we went from that to now having billions being poured into developing new games and milking content from the most popular video games like TV adaptations and new merchandise. For the younger audience out there that are being born into this day and age of gaming, it may seem normal to them, but for the people that's seen how mainstream gaming has become, it ultimately brings the question, at what point does this become too much, and have we reached that point yet? So today, I want to briefly touch on that topic, and hopefully by the end of this video, I can be able to answer this question with my opinion on what I think about mainstream media and gaming. Just like how you can touch on the topic of my Patreon. If you want to support the channel, gain access to exclusive videos that'll never go to YouTube, or be able to watch my channel videos earlier than when I usually upload them, feel free to check the link in the description below and become a Patreon member today. So at what point did gaming start to become mainstream, or at least gain attention from bigger corporations and be brought into a new spotlight? Well, you can't really pinpoint an exact time or date because there were major IPs tied to games all the way back in the 8-bit era. You had games with official licenses from Star Wars, Indiana Jones, wrestling, Michael Jackson. Yeah, that happened. So you could argue that it was at this point when the whole mainstream thing started, but in my opinion, I'd say when gaming really was brought to the forefront of attention would be the early to mid 2000s, for good reasons and for not so good reasons. It was brought positively mainly due to the rising popularity of video games, since they were becoming more graphically impressive, and we had the inception of some of the best franchises we know today, like God of War, Call of Duty, or the Tony Hawk Pro Skater games. These titles sparked genuine interest in kids and adults, so they soon formed a die-hard fan base because the games were obviously good. Who didn't enjoy a good teabagging session on a good 2008 afternoon? And of course, the game saw negative attention from news outlets because of, what I mentioned at the beginning of the video. People saw the violence and graphic nature of some games and thought it wasn't suitable to be available for the mass public. But, hey man, attention is attention, so even though everyone didn't like gaming, there's no doubt that all this talk about gaming propelled it even further into its own spotlight that reached a new height during the 7th generation of consoles. That generation being the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 era. By this point, we now had hella established game series that were known to anyone that ever touched these systems before. And of course, they grew more popular as the golden years of gaming continued. It was now at this point that big companies started looking over at the gaming industry like, yo, hold up, yo, what they doing? What they got going on over there? Because the money that these studios were making on just day one releases at this point were ridiculous. ridiculous. Grand Theft Auto 5 made $800 million just on its first day release, which is more than some movies make in 1 week on box office sales. So now we kind of come to the point where we see media and gaming merge together. Commercial deals, food crossovers, designer clothes collabs. If you could sell it, any company that could use a game's name to profit from it would indeed jump on it. And it's only become more widespread since that point because, crossovers between games and products that sometimes don't even make sense are being done because that money is just flowing. And many longtime gamers that are noticing this change aren't really taking a liking to this due to the fact that it kind of feels like these big game franchises' legacies are being ruined due to the fact that all this attention is opening the established culture up to people who barely even know the real lore behind them and then claim to be real fans. Posers is what I think they call them. I'm not up to date on the lingo, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So because of all of that, you get the argument that gaming as a whole is being ruined by the media. So, with all of that history lesson out of the way, it's time to now answer the question that brought you all here to my TED Talk today. And that is, with all the information given, is gaming actually being ruined by mainstream media? Okay, first, I want to separate games from the equation because I don't think the video games themselves are suffering, at least new games with new established IPs. The past 3 years alone have given us some of the best new titles with new faces, and with the technology that we have, the games look even better than they ever have in any era before. So I think as far as creating games with new ideas, we're just fine, especially with how many people now work on games. For the established IPs though, or the games that many companies go after because of the profitability, depending on how much the developers give in to the money being thrown at them, I can see them being ruined just a little bit. Like when I saw that recent Minecraft trailer for some designer clothes collab in the game, I cringed heavy because it was like, why? So if a game company isn't careful and falls down the rabbit hole of doing too many brand deals to where their game just loses its identity, then that is an issue. But overall, as far as gaming goes, I think that there can be a healthy balance between companies and gaming because, look at the Last of Us TV adaptation. That was chef's kiss perfect. They took an idea that was already popular and then created something from it based on the source material while adding their own twist to it. But it was actually done good. If you're gonna do something like this, it has to be good, not Assassin's Creed 2016. And while money can be the root of all evil for many people, let's not forget that money gained from these deals can help the studios make better games. A bigger budget gives space for more ideas, so game studios may not be the only ones benefiting from the monetary gain. So that's what I basically think about gaming and the mainstream media. It can be a good thing for the evolution of games, just as long as it doesn't tarnish what's already been built in the process. So what do you guys think about the mainstream media and video games, man? Feel free to leave your opinion down there. But as always, if you like the video, subscribe, check out the Patreon if you're interested, and I'll see y'all.